Good morning, everybody out there in YouTube land. Welcome back to my channel, Musings of a Marine. And today we've got another episode that revolves around the Philippines in a manner of speaking. Today we're going to talk about the Filipino Telesyre, or as what we would call it here in the States, soap opera or a drama. But anyways, a lot of people are very surprised when they find out that I watch these shows regularly, especially since they're mostly in Tagalog. There is some English in there, but they're mostly in Tagalog. And to tell you the truth, when I first started watching Filipino teleseries, it was pretty much me trying to guess what was going on, and if I really didn't understand something, I would just ask my wife Diana, what are they talking about? But as most Filipinos would attest, they are a very emotional bunch of actors and actresses on these shows. So based on the emotions, even without subtitles, you can usually pretty much tell what's going on. But anyways, eventually it was ABSCBN that we have a subscription to on our cable here in the Detroit area. And in fact, we lucked out. We were the only place in the area that has can get the cable company that shows the Filipino channel, so that worked out really good for us. But anyways, they did start showing the teleseries with subtitles for a while in English, so this way I could follow along better, and then for whatever reason they stopped. So fortunately, a friend of mine suggested, why not put the TV on closed captioning for the deaf? And lo and behold, it worked. So now I get my English subtitles again. So I just have to remember to put the TV back to normal when I'm done watching the show, because believe it or not, my Filipino bride does not watch very many teleseries. They are a little sappy. The acting is not as good as what you would expect here in the States, and some of the storylines are downright silly. But nonetheless, that's not the main reason I watch them. So let's discuss that for a moment. Why would I watch a Filipino teleserie, or a whole bunch of them for that matter? Well, it all started years ago when we first got our house here in Redford, Michigan, and we got cable television. And lo and behold, we had this channel, Channel 50, called the International Channel. And from 8 to 9, every weekday evening, they showed Filipino programming. The first half hour would be a teleserie, and the second half hour was either a talk show or a game show. Game Canaba with Chris Aquino was one of the game shows they would put on the programs there. And then also, when that ran its course, there was a talk show with her and Karina Sanchez called Chris and Karina. But that was the second half. The first half was always a teleserie, and when we first got this channel, the first one they were showing was called Esperanza, and it starred Judy Ann Santos and Marvin Augustin. Those are the only ones I remember on it, and except for one other young lady, there was this cute girl on there named Angelica de la Cruz. Well, I kind of liked her, but I didn't really watch the show much. The wife's a fan of Judy Ann. I am not. I don't even know why anybody finds her attractive, quite frankly. But anyways, that show ran its course, and the next show that came on was Panako Sayo. And I got into the show so much that I even learned how to sing the theme song to it. But it starred, for most of you who aren't familiar with this program, it starred an actor named Jericho Rosales, and the leading lady was Christine Hermosa, and this show really took off their careers. But it was other reasons to watch this show too. It was loaded with good-looking Filipino women. Michelle Bailey was one of them. I don't know whatever happened to Michelle, but boy, I wish she was still around, because that was a good-looking lady there. And another one, Vanessa Del Bianco, whose career never really took off that much. She was more famous with getting actor John Estrada to cheat on his wife than anything else. Now she manages some fitness places in Toronto, from what I understand. I actually hooked up with her on LinkedIn, if you can believe that. And there was some other good-looking ladies on there. Ina Raimundo had a part on the show for a while. And so, you would watch this show, and why wouldn't any, red-blooded heterosexual male not want to watch this show, as far as I was concerned? There was this cute young girl by the name of Jody Santa Maria, and boy, did she grow up to be a megastar in the Philippines. So it really launched a lot of careers. There was another cute girl in the show, too, by the name of Hazel Ann Mendoza. And she would go on to get a part in another teleseries called Gunungang Palad. And after that, I don't know whatever happened to her either, but boy, what a hottie she turned out to be. Hazel Ann, if you can get back into show business, please do, okay? She ended up getting married and I guess content to be a mother to her kids now. But boy, oh boy, that really launched the careers of a lot of people. And I really, really got into that show. In fact, when we made our first trip to Iloilo in 2002, it was on over there too. And so I was able to follow it also. And everybody kind of found it funny. And we'd go to the local Filipino store here in the Detroit area, and Filipinos would be surprised. This guy he watches these shows. He knows who these people are. Yeah, I actually know Filipino pop culture better than I do American culture. So obviously, one of the reasons I would watch a Filipino teleseries was because, there's some very good-looking Filipino women on these shows usually, and I find Filipino women the best looking in the world. Anybody who knows me already knows that. But also, they are so much more wholesome. And, I mean, even just a couple kissing is like a big deal over there, okay? It's very scandalous. If you have a show over there where, there's, somebody gets pregnant out of wedlock, or there's never any nudity there. If there's swearing going on, I don't see it because it's in Tagalog. But these are very wholesome shows. They could be a lot of evil in the people in these programs, and they could be kind of violent at times too. But the truth of the matter is as a whole, they are a much more wholesome bunch of programming. And not only that, but also, being a Catholic, there is a lot of representation for the Catholic Church in these shows. The common picture you see of Jesus hanging on the wall with his heart having the crown of thorns around it, and of course crucifixes, and churches certainly get represented in these shows. And that's the whole problem with Hollywood in America. They just want to kick God and Jesus out of everything, especially on TV shows. And it's a crying shame. It's beyond ignorant, because that is not depicting daily life for most Americans. There's still a lot of us, the majority of us, still go to church and are believers. So what a shame that is. But anyways, getting back to these shows, unfortunately, Paracosillo had to run its course. And then another show came on called Bituin, and I didn't like it as much, but one of the stars of the show was Carol Banawa. And then that's when I discovered her might be the best female singer I've ever heard in my life. And she can not only belt out the music in Tagalog, but in English too. And I don't know of all these so-called great singers here in the United States that could be bilingual like that. There's not very many of them. So enjoyed that. Attractive lady anyways. So I watched that one. And then unfortunately, we lost the international channel on our cable. So then we found out that we could get ABSCBN if we went and got a cable box and paid an extra $12.99 a month. So that's what we did. And then we got more cable stations as a result. I got the NFL network, which I was okay with. But now we can watch pretty much every teleseries that's on ABSCBN. We don't get GMA here, so I don't know a lot about that. But I'm very well versed in the stars of ABS-CBN. And currently I'm watching a teleseries with my favorite actress, Maja Salvador, called The Killer Bride. And I won't get into the details of the teleseries, but it is well received. The most popular teleseries I've ever seen here is one called Un Provinciano, which has been going on seemingly forever. And they've had so many popular stars go through it. And it still keeps going. And I don't really understand why. My wife watched it for a while, but even Di got sick of it after a while. It's like, come on, is this show ever going to end? When it first started, Maja Salvador was in it, and they wrote her out of the show. She went on to do a teleseries called Wildflower, which was huge, so much so not only in the Philippines, but come to find out in other parts of the world. And she just recently won a Best Actress award for this award ceremony in South Korea for that show. So that only proves two things. Number one, the show was very, very popular, but also it just goes to show just what a great actress Maja Salvador is, and I will make a case for her against any Filipina lady as to who the best actress in that country is. But not only that, that launched the careers for a couple other very pretty actresses, Roxanne Barcelo and Yen Santos, who ended up starring in a teleseries with Jericho Rosales not long after that. And so I became a big fan of hers as well. So anyways, that's how it all started. And that's why I still watch them to this day. And fortunately, I can get through closed captioning the subtitles in English, so I can follow these shows better. But they're fun to watch. Some of the craziness, it's almost comical at times, because sometimes the acting and particularly the storylines are just so bad that some of the stupid stuff that happens. But you can watch it for that reason. You can watch it for the good-looking people on it. If you're a lady, there's a lot of good-looking guys on these shows as well. And I'm looking forward to another show coming out with a love team called Enrique Hill is the guy, and Liza Soberano is the lady. And speaking of that, that's the last thing I'm going to talk about in this video, is it's very common in the Philippines to have what they call love teams. Jericho Rosales and Christine Hermosa were probably a big love team after Panaco Sayo. In fact, they did movies together, but unfortunately, their relationship fizzled out. They're both married to different people. They never got married. But my favorite love team now is Enrique Hill and Liza Soberano. They've done a couple teleseries together already, and they have done a couple movies together too. So they've got another one coming out, and I'm looking forward to that. Liza has been voted on many contests of who the most beautiful woman in the world is. You see these videos on YouTube, top 100 most beautiful women in the world, and Liza's in the top 5, if not number 1, on pretty much every one of them. So there's a reason to watch the show right there. Enrique Hill, holy cow, boy, did God bless this guy. He ends up not only being the love team partner of Liza, but now her boyfriend too. And he's just an average-looking guy. He doesn't have bulging muscles or six-pack abs or anything like that. But sharp enough looking guy, and the chemistry between them is fantastic. So that makes it worth watching as well. You can tell that those two actually like one another, and that helps. So anyways, just wanted to talk about that a little bit today. A lot of people think I'm weird. I go and watch more Filipino movies when possible than I do American movies. And most of the shows I watch, with the exception of the Hallmark channel, are on the Filipino channel. Unless it's football, of course. So, that's it. I'm John signing off. Thanks for tuning in once again. Semper Fi, and God bless.